Hello and welcome to the channel. Thanks for joining me today. This is going to be my first full-length demo, and I hope you enjoy it. So today I'm going to take you through painting this barn scene in a line and wash style, just very loose and colorful, just sort of letting the paint do the work for me. Here's the reference that we're going to be working from. We're not really going to paint this barn, we're just going to use it as some guide for shapes. Here's just a little bit about my setup. I'm using Saunders Waterford 140-pound cold press paper. I'm using mostly Daniel Smith, but some Winsor and Newton paints, Raphael and Escoda brushes, and a Mahalo palette. I'm not exactly sure how you say that. Maybe one of you will tell me. But now we can just go ahead and get to doing the drawing. Enjoy.
Okay. So I'm going to try something I've not done before, and I'm going to draw and paint on camera. I just want to block this barn in just a little bit. And I already figured out that I'm not going to be able to talk while I do this. However, I'm going to make up some things about this barn that don't really exist at this point. I want that little building back there. Alright, so just with a very rough outline of what we're going to do, and we'll just start our ink. And I'm not too worried about the lines being straight. I don't mind there being breaks and that kind of thing. We're just trying to get the sense of what a barn looks like here. Sort of barn looking. And you notice I'm not going by my drawing anymore because my drawing appeared to be wrong as I started working on it, so I just changed on the fly. And I can't talk and do this. I already said that. And I'm learning more and more that I can't do that. So I'll come back and I'll voice this over later. Like I said, the door's not there. And I don't I'm going to put in all the boards, just going to suggest them because it's supposed to be fun and not tedious. Alright, now let's see. Under this barn here, or under this shed, I guess is my point. There's just going to be things and stuff, as a friend of mine used to call it. And so maybe we'll throw in a little barrel or a suggestion of a barrel in a box. And I don't know, a tool or something sitting up there. We don't know, sawhorse, whatever you want to call it. Just things. And inside the barn, we just want to make a couple little notes about leaving some light popping through there. So so there's things going on inside the barn. And we've got a little grass line there. And we got to give the sides, these boards, just a little bit of, or side of the barn, a little bit of board texture. Nothing much, just a little bit. I'll come back in and make sure, those things that it just all has character. Let's see. Yeah, maybe have some rafter ends here. All right, so I think barns probably need cows. I'm going to put my cow in with a pencil first. Because you want to make sure your cow looks right. There we go. I don't know, maybe over here we have I'll just throw in a silhouette of a farmer over here working on something. There's some more stuff over here behind the barn. Another barrel. I'm a fan of barrels. Okay, so we'll throw in a little bit of texture under here too. All right, that really, well, let's go ahead and we'll come back in when this is all over and put a little bit more ink on the top. But don't get all bogged down in the ink part of this. Not initially. You're not making a masterpiece here. We're just doing stuff. We'll know where that's going to stop. I don't know. Maybe maybe we'll put a little silo in over here. Because we can. It's another interesting shape, that's all. Oh, I just bumped the camera with my head, so that will show up, I'm sure. All right, so what we want to do too is we want to make sure we know the sun's coming from there, because this is sort of just a made-up scene. It's not a made-up scene, it's a barn that I took a picture of, but I'm changing a lot of things about it. Particularly, I think I want to come across starting about, let's do, I don't know, let's see. Where do we want these? We're going to go up here. Let's have something to tie the mid-ground into the foreground with. And if we're going to keep those cows in there. And a lot of people say, oh, don't put a fence in your foreground because it won't let people into the painting. I hope you can get into the painting. We'll see. And we're going to throw a little suggestion of a fence back here. Okay, and we'll pop some trees in there later, but I like to do the shape of the tree with the paint and then come back and do the ink for the tree a little bit later. All right, with any luck, we're back at it again. So I'm just going to lay in a loose sky, give the building a little bit of tone, lay in a foreground. We're going to work this from a very light background to a dark foreground. We'll see how that goes. Probably not my best plan ever, but we're going to try it. I do mostly use Daniel Smith paints. I've used Winsor Newton paints quite a bit. Those are about the only ones that I've ever worked with. There was an off-brand I tried at one point that I'll have to say that didn't thrill me. So I'm just leaving a few holes in the sky. We'll come back in and add tree. Pay attention though. It's the side of my brush that's doing the work here. I'm not really worried about being in the lines either. Because all this is gonna change a little bit. I'm gonna take a little bit of warm, maybe a alizarin crimson. Most of what I just put in there was cobalt, little palette dregs. But I just throw in a little shade of alizarin crimson here. And just give it a little bit of interest. And then I'll just take my little bottle to soften this up some. I left my other bottle at my other location. That one's not my favorite, but it'll do the trick right now. Okay, so the roof is going to be rusty. I like rusty, so I'm going to come in here with a little bit of burnt sienna. And just anywhere there's roof, I'm going to throw in a little bit of that burnt sienna. I'm going to take some palette drags to give some tone to that silo for now. I'm leaving that little back. I don't know. We'll see. I'm going to come back in with a little bit more of that alizarin crimson. We'll give it some stuff under there as well. And you notice I'm just sort of winging this. There is no right color. It's certainly not the colors that was in my photograph. But this just makes it a little bit more interesting. At least in my opinion it does. And I changed my mind. I'm going to kill that off a little bit. So barns typically are in hay fields. So we're going to, or not hay fields, but in fields, you know, not brightly colored grass all the time. So I'll just throw in a little bit of raw sienna there. That raw sienna needs to get a little bit darker, so we'll put a little bit of, I don't know, French ultramarine in there maybe. Give that a little bit of darkness. And then we're going to go, I think I'm going to put a little burnt umber. This is more colors than I typically use. You people have scared me. Got a little bit cooler than I thought I wanted it to be, but I think that'll work for right now. So I am going to take a paper towel over here and clean all this so I don't get a back run. And I see a cloud that's going to give me some trouble if I don't mop it up. So I'm going to just mop that up just a little bit. Okay. And I'm going to take and put a little bit, a little smaller brush here. Just sort of decorating that foreground a bit. I like to just take my fingers and dip it in water and throw it out there. And it just breaks it up some. So, anyway. Taking some risk and we'll see. I'm going to pause the video now while I run the hairdryer and dry this up, and then we'll come back and do the next step. All right, the blow drying is done. I'm gonna just lay in, actually I'm gonna get a flat brush, which I don't use many flat brushes except for this particular type of activity. I'm gonna take a flat brush, just clean water, and I'm going to just soften, almost fit right there. I'm gonna lay in some background trees. We'll dry that up, and then we'll put in some foreground trees virtually the same way. Background trees are going to be cooler and further away, and we just want them to be soft and those kinds of things. So add a little green to them, a little blue to them, but there won't be much. They're just going to show through. Come in, just make them a little stronger. Just give them a little bit of tree shape. Nothing much. And that's all I really want to do there. I just don't want to have... I need to stop you from running out behind the barn, so as I make some different shapes there. I'll put, I just give you a horizon to stop at. And yeah, you'll notice that I leave little white things, little unpainted areas here and there, but that just gives it interest. I just came down further than I wanted to there. We'll just take a paper towel, brush that off. Get that out of there. All right, another time for a hairdryer break. All right, I should have probably laid those trees in when I laid the sky in, but I didn't, and I changed my mind, so that just happens. That's the way this stuff works. So right now I'm going to put in some larger trees just to bring this building forward a little bit, and then we'll start working down the page from there. So again, I'm going to go back in with just a little bit of clear water, and the reason I'm putting in the clear water is I don't want these shapes to be the center of interest here, and I'm going to pop in just a little corner around this silo because I want the silo to come forward just a little bit, and so we'll get a little bit of sap green and French ultramarine, and we're just going to drop some stuff in here. And you see, because it's wet, I'm getting that tree edge. And I don't want these to be the darkest thing on the page at all, but we'll throw some limbs in there with an ink pen later. We do need to darken it up a little bit as we get down in here. I just put straight French ultramarine in there. And you're gonna have to pardon my head right there. Let's see if I can. I just want to bring out the top of that barn and the side of that silo. Okay. A little bit over there, but it doesn't matter. So with line and wash, just let the lines be a suggestion. That's about all they are. You don't want to get too bogged down in it. All right, so I'm going to do the same thing over here on the other side of the barn. Not too much. You don't want everything to be perfectly outlined with something else. It gets boring. So we'll come back in here. We'll throw in all right, same thing. We'll just mostly hit a little bit of undersea green and palette dregs. There are some artists who never clean their palette. And then there are those others who start out with a pristine palette and end that way and never use more than, a half an ounce of water and paint the whole day. I'm neither of those. I don't know. I change it up every time I do it. Sometimes I start with a clean palette. Sometimes I don't. Now, so you see, I just left a little bit of a passage in between those trees. You can go on over. And that's why I put the trees in the background. I just wanted to leave a little break in them. I didn't want them to be, a wall that you couldn't get through. Get a little darkness down to the bottom because the sun doesn't always penetrate down that low. It'd be nice and bright up on the limbs. Okay. All right. Trees are in. Now we're going to, let me get a little scrapey paintbrush here. See if it's ready. Nah, not really. We'll just have little indicators. And we'll come back and work on that in a little bit. All right, we're off to the hairdryer. All right, finished, got everything dry again. All right, so let's start. We're gonna work on the silo a little bit. Like I said earlier, I like rust. I'm gonna take a little bit of raw sienna. I'm sorry, burnt sienna. This happens to be a Winsor Newton burnt sienna, but I use Daniel Smith burnt orange quite a bit too, and I just haven't decided which one of those is the one that I like the most. If you noticed, I just put a dark color on the back, and then I'll just lift that out there. Remember, our sun's coming from over here. Now, that silos are typically gray, so I'll just take a little cobalt and mix it in with some of that burnt sienna and come right down here on the dark side of this guy. Let's stay away from there. And it's not going to cast a hard light like that. It's just going to bleed around the edge. So we'll take some clear water and just lift that edge out. Come back in with just a little bit more. And just give it some structure, I gotta quit putting my head in your way. And we'll darken that just a little bit there. I just don't want it to be perfect. Okay. Now, what we're going to do with the roof is we want to make sure the roof changes. We want it cool to warm, light to dark. Keep in mind we have these sheets of roofing material on top of this barn, so we may want to just consider that. We'll start out up here. Let's get a little bit of paint down there. And just wash it in. You don't want it to be perfect. Now, I will come in here and just throw in a different color. And I'll go back to that color, and there's just, it's just whatever you want to do. You're just trying to make this interesting. It doesn't have to be a static picture. You just want to have a little bit of something. I'll tell you, when I say I haven't decided whether it's burnt orange, Quinn burnt orange, or from Daniel Smith, or the burnt sienna from Winsor. I have to make birds right there. I just stuck my brush in the other one, not thinking, and wound up with. Okay, that looks a little bit interesting, and we'll use some more ink work later on to help that. All right, we have another roof to do, so we'll do basically the same thing, although since it's laid out a little bit flatter, it's probably going to be a little bit of a lighter color. And so, well, hey.
Are you doing a video?
I am, and you're being recorded on it.
Oh boy.
Huh? All right. I'll take a little bit more. All right, so when it comes to the shadows here, we're going to go up under the roof. All right. I'm going to go the other way. So, like I said before, light to cool, or warm to cool, light to dark. So we're just going to pick French ultramarine almost straight out of the tube. Bring it down. Then we're going to take some burnt sienna down here at the bottom. Just give a little bit of a reflection. You know, bounce light from somewhere, I guess. All right, so this barn is predominantly red. So we'll try to stay with a base of burnt sienna, but we'll go back. We put a little bit of alizarin crimson in the sky, so we'll do some burnt sienna with alizarin crimson. Just mix up a reasonable mix there. That's too much, but what we want to do is vary that out. Sometimes we're going to put in a little bit more alizarin crimson, and other times a little bit more raw sienna. We'll throw a little cobalt blue in there on occasion, because we can, and it doesn't have to be boring. And what we want to do too is, when we're coming around this corner, we want to make sure that this edge is lighter, because it's about the contrast between. I almost let that get too done. Go back with a little bit more alizarin crimson in here. So this is a very, very colorful barn if you haven't figured that out yet. It won't be so bad when we get it all done. So I'm going to go ahead and take some of these same colors and put them in here. I will come back in and darken the inside, but we just want a few little reflections and things to show up in there. Little pieces of light that we can. All right, now we're going to take those same colors, take a little bit of like I said, we want that edge to be darker. Because this is in the shade. And it doesn't have to be black. A little bit. There we go. I like a little pop of blue, but I decided I liked it before I. Now this is going to be dark under here. So we need to come in here with some color. And leave our post out because they're going to have to come forward a little bit. Make sure you keep that edge wet too, or you'll make the mistake I made earlier there. All right, as we come down toward the bottom, we'll make it a little cooler. My barrel, my stuff there. Don't know what that stuff is. It's just stuff. Yeah, so farmer, he bought it and he put it under there. Seems like a lot of stuff gets bought and stored in these places. Don't know if it's out working or not. And not too late to go back in there and give that a little bit of touch up. That's what that needed. All right. So let's talk about this little house back here in the back. It needs something. It's too forward for me. So we'll put a blue edge. Up against that. And I see, and I always find out I miss stuff somewhere along the way. Okay. Let's take my finger and smudge that in a little bit. So we don't know what that is. That's usually a mistake. Okay. All right. I think it's time for the hair dryer, and then we'll start bringing this together. All right. So now we're going to start putting some shadows and stuff together, putting in our post and things like that, and I don't know. Just start that little finished piece before the last little bit of ink work. Shadows are never black. I tend to lean toward purple more than I should, but that's just one of those things that I do. Not everybody does. I try not to, but it's just a habit that I can't break. So we'll go with something. It's a little bit dark here, but remember where our sun is coming from. Like I said, things need to be going on back there in the barn so that it's not just a hole. You don't want to have a hole in your painting. I don't like those pieces of light, but those others will work. And that's not going to be dark enough, so I have to come back in and do that one again. Take that same shadow color. We're going to come around here. Because I didn't have it right to start with. There we go. Come in under there and put something in. no matter whether it's in direct sunlight or not, underneath these eaves is always going to be darker, but it's not going to cast a hard shadow. So you drop that in there and then just come back in with some clean water right underneath it. And just take that out there. Might have to rub it just a little bit to make it go away. Now we're going to do that same thing underneath here. Just mix it up a little bit, that's all. Okay, now we need something very dark to go right here underneath this roof. Actually, probably not. Probably right with my drawing there. And we're going to keep that dark because we're going across a lighter plane. We're going to keep, and you're looking at the back side of that post, so we're going to keep that a little bit darker. Let's see. While I have this brush, we want a very, very warm cow. And since just blend that top because we want it. Give them an anchor, keep them on the ground. Don't like cows floating. Okay, let's see. We've got our little gray barrel over here. Let me find something that looks kind of gray. Close enough. It doesn't matter what kind of barrel that is. It's just something. Let's see. We need a raw sienna for my farmer's head. And farmers tend to wear overalls, so we're gonna just give them a little bit of overalls there. There we go, get him all shaded in. He's hanging out in the shade today. It's probably a little bit warm. It's certainly warmer than the picture that I took. Let's see. I would have sort of a there's our barrel. Don't know why he has a barrel. I think it's because they're easy to draw for me, or easy to suggest. Okay. I have to do a little bit more work on this roof here because this part of the roof I'm fine with. This part of the roof, not so fine. So, let me see. We're going to come in here with our raw sienna and dry brush on there. And it turned out okay. Maybe I'll do that on the top too, in a spot or two. There we go. Alright, let's see. Probably time for some fence posts, and they're going to be pretty dark. So we'll just take a little bit of burnt umber, a little bit of French ultramarine, flick them in there. Now you go darker than that. Get some. Got areas of the barn there that should have been shaded that I did not do. You find these things out later as you're working around there. But that should have been one way or the other. A little spatter here and there, just for some interest. Okay, I got to do some thinking here. I'm gonna hit the hairdryer real quick. I'll be back. All right, so what I figured out is that this side of the building, being out of the sun, isn't dark enough. So we're gonna come back in with another wash of different colors and darken that up. And one of the things too that happens, that shadow is not cast, that is occluded, I think is the phrase. However, here on this roof line, it's going to be cast. And I'll have to darken that back up in a minute. Maybe not, maybe that'll work. All right, so we're gonna come back underneath here. Lay that in. Now that stands out just a little bit more. I like it. A little bit too far out there for me. Okay. What we're going to do now is dry this one more time. And yeah, I still need to do a little bit of something back here. Let me get some palette drags. And just, there we go. All right. We're going to dry this off, and then we're going to, actually no, we're not going to dry this off just yet. We're going to come back in here with some dark stuff, whatever dark happens to be. There we go. And then I think take that, come back on those posts again. I'm gonna have to, the tops of these posts, I'm gonna, in that one end, are gonna get some white on them. All right, now it's time. All right, let's put a little bit of ink in here. I'm gonna go back to my Lame Safari that I drew this with. We're just going to start giving some character to this roof line here. It doesn't have to be much. We're just gonna you just want to make it look old. You'll see some things and you won't see other things, and just punch them in there. Yeah. And we'll do the same thing down this edge here. Really, that's whatever you want it to be. Don't get all caught up. Alright, so one of the things that you'll see in barns is the boards will get weathered and they'll start to separate, so you get these little black holes. So throw those in there, particularly down at the bottom. They'll start to split away. Nothing on these barns are going to be straight because they've been out in the sun for a long time. And let's see, I think I'm going to make those a little wider, and I'm going to come in here. There we go. All right, now it's probably time for a little bit of white stuff just to bring it back. People may not all agree with me on this. I don't think I necessarily care. Let me find my ink real quick. So, if you want to know, P.H. Martin's Bleed Proof White. You need to soften it up a little bit, but straight out of the jar, I just sort of flick it in places. Just lets the sun shine on things. A little edge there. Yeah, maybe the face of the cow. That's about it, really. Nothing much. Oh, this guy needs to come forward. Yeah, there we go. All right, I think this one ready to be signed. Not a masterwork, but that's the process. So let's see. Oh, you know what? There's something I do want to do. We're going to add in a little bit more dark down here. Oh, that was a mess, wasn't it? Never fear. There we go. Just to get a little bit darker there. There's something about that being so light that bothered me. All right, so So I made you put up with the blow dryer that time instead of cutting you out. Sorry. Just, you see things and you want to do something about them. And that's what I did. Okay. All right. Now, call that one done.
All right, so there you have it. I hope you stuck it out to the end and hopefully you learned something, even if you just learned something not to do. If you enjoyed it, please like and subscribe and let me know if you want to see more. Be well.